Hello and welcome back to Azure Terraformer. But before we get started, I'd just like to thank you guys for watching. Please take this opportunity to smash the like button if you are enjoying my channel and enjoying this type of content. And also subscribe and ring that bell. Back to what we're looking at here. So bottom line, we have a Terraform code base set up. We have Azure DevOps pipelines using Bash set up. Just with deploying deploying an Azure DevOps project and an Azure DevOps repo and using that import functionality. So like all that work is done. What's left? Well, we need to, these pipelines have some certain assumptions built into them, right? So I have application name, environment name, that are variables that need to get set. First of all, just having a YAML file doesn't mean you actually have an Azure DevOps pipeline. So I'm going to have to go set up a pipeline. So let's go do that. So let's go back to our code. And this time I'm going to go create a folder called pipeline. Now for the pipeline, what resource are we going to use? So let's go back to our documentation and let's go look for what it might be. So build definition sounds about right to me. So again, we've got our Git repo. We've got, now this example even uses an Azure DevOps variable group here. But where the money shot is this build definition, okay? And so it looks like they've got some schedules set up. They've got a CI trigger, use the YAML set to false, yada, yada, yada. They've got a path. So yeah, this looks kind of like, and they even have pipeline variables set up. So this looks like something that we want to use. So let me just grab this. I'm just going to grab the build definition. I actually don't care about the variable group. Let's throw in the variable group. Why not? Why not, right? Now this is using TFS. I don't know if I feel good about that. Did I miss that? Because I definitely don't want to use TFS. That would be terrible. It's a TFS Git repo. Okay, so it is using a Git. Okay, so that threw me off. I'm like, no, pump the brakes, boom, boom, boom. Like I do not want to use the TFS repository. So yeah, I feel pretty good about this. So there we go. I copied that example in here. We got a variable group here. Probably need to think about what we're going to do with that. I think for the variable group, we could probably call this Azure credentials. Okay, and then let's just create a thing called variable group, and we'll move our variable group into that folder or into that file. And so now for this variable group, I do use variable groups for my Azure credentials, hence Azure credentials. So let me just go, what am I doing? Let me just go to my template, my source code, and I'm gonna go grab what it's expecting there to be from an Azure credential standpoint. So we have this block right here. So I need these values, and I might as well just snag this so that I can remember all these things, so that they're all there. So I'm gonna grab this whole block, and that way I know all of the pipeline variables that I need to set somewhere somehow. Okay, so let me just, in a comment block, I'll just throw this stuff in here. And I know it makes sense to put my Azure credentials into a variable group. And so it looks like I've got this variable block where I can declare one or more of these. So I'm just gonna 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to grab ARM client secret, and there you go. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have my credentials in a variable group, and I'm just going to call this, what is this? Azure credentials. There we go. And yes, it is managed by Terraform, but it was deployed by Terraform. I don't know if that's really a useful comment, so I'm just going to throw that out. Now, the backend is another thing that I should probably create a variable group for. So I'm going to call this Azure Backend. And this is going to be Azure Terraform Backend. And this is going to need, let me minimize this. And I need the backend resource group name. And then I need the backend storage account name. And then I need the backend storage container name. There we go. And then I can just delete this last hanging Chad. I don't need that. I don't need that thing at all. Okay. And now the backend key, this is actually composed. It's a composite value of two different pipeline variables that have distinct values, the application name and the environment name. And these, I don't think it makes sense for these to be in a variable group because these are really tied to the pipeline, the build definition itself. So these I'm going to reserve for the build definition itself. I think I can get rid of this comment right here. I don't need that anymore. So let's go back to the build definition. Let's throw this throw this on here so we can remember what's going on here. So my project is main. What do I need to fix here? I think these are schedules. These are definitely optional. I just want to get rid of them. My repository, what is my repository called? It's just called infra. Okay. So we got infra. Yeah, we'll use the default branch. The YAML path. So this is where I'm going to have to embed some foreknowledge of the code that I'm importing into this Terraform code. So if we go look at the source code that I imported, the YAML path is going to be .azdo pipelines and then Terraform multi-stage, right? So this is going to be the path. So I can slam this in here, and there we go. Now, the funny thing about Azure DevOps is you never know if it wants a / or it doesn't want a /. I think in this case it doesn't want a /. So I think we're good here. Now, this variable groups collection, it looks like we're linking. This is linking a variable group to this pipeline, which is one of the worst GUI experiences in Azure DevOps, in my opinion. So it's kind of nice that this is here. So let's go get the variable group. I think what is this called? Azure credentials. Yeah. And then this is an array, so I'm going to just add another one. It's going to be Azure DevOps variable group, and it's going to be Azure backend.id. And so now, right off the bat, I've saved myself, 3 clicks? You have to click link variable group. You have to check a radio button, to select the variable group from the list. Then you have to click link. I forget if there's a confirmation, but then you have to do it again. So 3 clicks for each of these. This is a total of 6 bloody clicks. Six clicks that I'm saving. It's be kind of funny to document all the clicking that I'm saving with just this block of Terraform. This is going to be my plan pipeline, and I'm going to use this in the build verification stage. So this is just going to run Terraform plan. And the path, I assume this is the path of the build definition, which I suppose we can leave it. I don't want to mess with that right now, but you guys know how I like folders and organizing my pipelines in Azure DevOps. So I'm going to come back and fix that. Don't you worry. So now I have my pipeline variables. Okay. And it is nice. They give us a little secret value. They show us how to do a secret. We're not actually going to use secrets here. So I just need to get my application name, which I'm going to call foo. And then I'm going to copy pasta this variable, and I'm going to bring down environment name, and it's going to be called bar. Okay. And then I'm going to get rid of this little secret version because we don't need that. Like we got no secrets, not in pipeline variables. However, some of the stuff in our Azure credentials are going to be secrets. So we're going to definitely want to think about that going forward. So let's just like run this and see what we get. Okay. So I'm gonna auto approve this. Oops. We gotta fix our references. So my variable group doesn't reference the project correctly, and this is probably happening twice. There we go. So I've fixed the variable group references to the project. Let's try it again. And looks like we're in business. And let's go check and see what we've deployed using Azure DevOps. So what do we got here? So this is our repo. Yeah, I'm in the generic project name. I need to change that name to be something that stands out more. I have this Terraform plan in an example folder. Love it. What a terrible folder name. And here we go. Like we're pointing at my multi-stage pipeline. If I got to remember how many clicks I'm saving here. So to create this pipeline, I got to hit the ... I got to hit triggers, and then I got to go in here, and then I got to add these two. You guys have seen me do this so many times, so it's like, wow, Mark doesn't have to manually do this anymore. So there we go, and I've got my Azure credentials linked here with these totally realistic values, which we're going to update in a second. Yeah, so this is looking pretty good. I'm happy about this. So now what I need to do, I think this satisfies my the requirements in order to run this thing. So I just need to get correct credentials and a backend set up there. So let's go do that. Let me go to my resource groups, and I got to pull up my Terraform state for development. And we've got the Terraform state resource group, which I'm not going to go copy pasta this into Azure DevOps anymore. I actually have to go put this into my Terraform code. So this is my backend resource group name, which is going to be that. And then my Terraform state storage account. This is the one. It's going to be weird because I have a storage account name. It's got a random number in it, right? And then I'm pretty sure my container is the same name, just like my resource group. Yeah, it's just TF state. So TF state, if I can spell properly, there we go. So now my backend is properly configured. Now let's go grab the usual suspects from an Azure subscription standpoint. You can very easily just open up your subscriptions tab, and you can get the tenant and the subscription ID very easily from here. So under the subscription, I got my subscription ID. Let's go slam that into there. And then let me go grab my tenant ID. Go to Active Directory, and there's my tenant ID. And then I got to put that in the code. Now I need to get my app registration that I use to deploy Terraform. So this is Terraform dev. So I'm going to go grab the application ID, and we're going to put that in the client ID because the application ID is the same as the client ID. It's very confusing. They change the nomenclature depending on your context. I think they even added the parentheses client in there just because so many people were confused. Like, it's the same thing. Why do you call this stuff the same? Anyways, so now I'm going to create a new client secret. And what are we going to call this? Let's just call this episode 40 so I don't forget and leave this thing out there. So we've got episode 40. That's my value. Let's go paste that into our source code. Wonderful. Now, let me go look at this Azure DevOps variable group because I want to make sure that when I create this client secret that it's actually going to be hidden. Like I don't want anybody to see the client secret when it gets provisioned. So I'm going to go to my variable group resource, and oh, there we go. So secret value and then is secret. So that's what we need. So on my variable, I'm going to change this from value to secret value. I'm going to grab that value. It's going to be the same. And then there we go. So secret is true. Everybody's happy. Let's run this. Bada bing, bada boom. Very fast, very fast. I mean, we got no VMs to provision, right? So it should be very fast. So let's smash refresh here. And there we go. So client secret is a secret. These other things aren't so much. And then I've got my backend state here. So yeah, let's, I think this should be good to go. I may be missing, I think the pipeline variable that I'm missing is working directory though. I know for a fact that working directory is a thing that we need. So let's go look at our repo again and let's look at our pipeline and just make sure. So we need to set the working directory. Is there anything else that we need? Application name, environment name. I think that's it. So yeah, so working directory is all that we need, and that goes on the pipeline itself. And so I'm just going to say variable, that's a block, not an attribute, name equals working directory, and then the value is going to be the value of the path of my Terraform folder, which is going to be source Terraform. That's it. Source Terraform. There we go. So now let's update this. All we're going to do is add that working directory pipeline variable to the build definition for plan. And are we actually pointed at the plan, or are we doing a multi-stage? I can't remember. So we're pointing at multi-stage, but we're actually running plan. So let's just change this to apply because that's what it's actually doing. And then we'll be able to see the environment get created, which should be fun. So let's go to our pipeline and let's go run this pipeline and just see what happens. We got our variable set, foobar. So we're going to create a foobar. Failed to read variables file. env bar. Yeah. So we don't have a bar environment. So we need to go update the environment name to be something that is actually in there, and it's either dev or prod. So I'm just going to call it dev. So let's update that value. And I think that should be the only place where it wouldn't work, where that would be referenced like that. And if I go run let me go look at the values here. Yeah, so environment name is dev now. Okay, so foo dev. We're going to be planning for foo dev. Yep, foo dev. This is our state. This is our back end. And here's our plan. It's an amazing plan. We're going to produce this super sophisticated environment that consists of a resource group. And let's go see if we get the approval prompt. So permission is needed. Okay. And so we're going to say permit. And now we should be going and running the apply against that environment. Now this is going to do an environment deployment. So it's using the logical environment structure and associating this pipeline's success with that particular environment. Now Azure DevOps doesn't actually know the way we're using Azure DevOps environments here. Azure DevOps doesn't actually know anything about the infrastructure that's deployed to this environment. it's just a placeholder logical container bags, state bag, whatever, that you associate pipelines with. And honestly, it kind of makes sense. Like we don't want Azure DevOps. We don't necessarily need or want Azure DevOps to know, like, if it's a Kubernetes cluster or an app service or whatever. That sort of tight coupling seems beyond the scope of what Azure DevOps is intending to do. But it looks like our environment is done. So the logical environments is pretty much all that we need for our Azure DevOps. If we go look at the environments from Azure DevOps, we see, well, this foo-bar thing was never deployed, but then we have foo dev, and it was deployed, and it was successfully deployed 2 minutes ago, right? So within this foo dev environment, we have kind of a history that's within context of this environment. We can see all the changes that were made. So if we need to run a Terraform apply, if we need to run a code compile, a code deploy, or something like that, or a schema update to our database, or whatever deployments we're doing, if we do them in association with this environment, in this Azure DevOps environment construct, then Azure DevOps can present us with a single pane of glass to show us all the places, who approved it, and whether they were successful or not with regards to this particular environment. So that's pretty much what it is. And so if we go out to the Azure portal, we will see a new resource group out there called foo dev in all its majestic glory. And there we go. We have used Terraform to provision an Azure DevOps project, repository, and build pipeline. We have deployed a build definition with a complete end-to-end working Terraform pipeline that will provision whatever you have in your Terraform code. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, smash the like. And I hope you're enjoying the channel. We got a lot more to come, where we're automating the automation using the Azure DevOps Terraform provider. It's gonna get really fun from here, because we're gonna implement all the things. We're gonna get Git flow working. We're gonna get all of our branch policies in place. We're gonna set up build validation so that on our Terraform code, so that when we run Terraform, or when we do a pull request, then we run a Terraform validate and Terraform plan just to see what's going to happen to the environment. And we're going to set up multiple environments, dev and prod, and we're going to clean up our Azure DevOps Terraform code to get all those secrets out of our code. Because if you recall, and if during this episode you were probably screaming at me, Mark, your client secret is in your Terraform code. I know. I didn't check it in. We're good. We're going to extract that stuff in the next episode and get this stuff all cleaned up, enterprise ready, so that we can go and start pumping out new Terraform projects all across our organization. So join me next time on Azure Terraformer. Until then, this is the Azure Terraformer signing off.